All right. Welcome to our Wednesday call. That's difficult, but get everybody inside. So if you're on YouTube, welcome. If you're inside the group, welcome. Post the chats, and today we're going to go over everything about underwriting gap deals. So give me a second, I'll be right back, and we will go ahead. Boom. All right, welcome everybody. I hope you're having an amazing week. Welcome on YouTube, welcome to StreetYard. So right now we are going to go into everything about underwriting wrap deals, understanding how to underwrite wrap deals, understanding how to price deals to sell, because everything begins with underwriting. And if you're going to direct to sell, if you're looking at deals, like it all begins with learning how to underwrite the deals well. Because once you learn the skill of underwriting, then everything gets easier. Because you just sharpening your skills in underwriting makes everything in real estate easier. And when I started wholesaling, I knew very little underwriting. I was a wholesaler. I knew if I could get a deal for cheap enough, low enough, then I could sell the deal for higher. And oftentimes I didn't know if I was getting a $5,000 wholesale or $50,000 wholesale, but I knew if I could get a deal for good enough, it would be, I could make some sort of money, right? I had no idea what my active investors were doing with the deals. So I didn't know if they were renting it, you're doing co-living, you're doing wraps, these options. And so that didn't really register. You had hedge funds, so the different types of formulas they use for buying properties, right? So I wasn't aware of any of this, and I know now that it's by understanding how to underwrite deals and what you can price deals for, what you can sell them for, it makes everything easier because you get confidence from that. You begin to know what you can go back to the seller and talk to them about. Right? You can go back to the seller and you can understand what you actually offer for the property because you know what you can sell it for, and therefore, by knowing what you can sell it for, then it makes everything easier. I was told to amp up my mic, so let me check my settings here real quick. Okay, fixing my technical here. Okay, can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up or a comment in the YouTube chat if you guys are able to hear me now. Cool. Okay, still cutting in and out. Better, but please keep talking. Okay, I can change it my mic if it's cutting out. Better. Okay, amazing. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. I'm getting used to StreamYard, and in many ways I'm doing StreamYard the same way that I do most of my businesses, which is I just show up and each week it'll get a little bit better, right? Good, amazing. I'm happy you guys can hear me. Okay, awesome. So what I was saying before is underwriting is the core foundation. It is what everything begins with. It allows for us to make better deals. It allows for us to go from elementary levels of real estate to being more advanced in real estate. And underwriting wrap deals and lease options in particular is just a really amazing thing to be able to do, because as you're able to do that, you're going to be able to get deals a lot easier. You're going to be able to see what your profitability looks like, and then you're going to be able to start asking better questions. So my goal on this call is to, if you guys have deals you want to look at, bring me those deals and we'll look at those deals. So if you have deals in particular that you're like, I'm curious about this deal, we'll look at them, and we can see about calling sellers as well. I really enjoy calling sellers. It's more about if you guys can hear the sellers and be communicating. So I'll talk to sellers. If you have deals you want to look at, bring them over. I have my own deals I can share as well, and deals I'm currently working on. So I can kind of break down what it is I'm looking for as I'm doing wraps and lease options. For me, it's way more fun to have you guys bring deals. So if anyone has a deal, post it in the comments, and I can see if I can bring you on stage as well, so we can talk about your deal. Okay. So I can get into some of the basics of wraparound mortgages and lease options, and I can go over a deal that I'm currently working on that I currently have available that I just purchased a few days ago. So some of the core things about wraps and lease options is like one is identifying markets, right? And is knowing some of the key fundamentals of like how to do this type of deal. I'm going to go through some of those core products. First, we'll just go through one of my deals and then kind of talk to you guys. Bring your questions. If you have any questions, bring them up. If you have any sellers that you guys are talking to, agents you're talking to, not sure if deals are deals, like don't be shy. Like this is your place to like bring things up and get some feedback, and we'll look at them together. So I'll share my screen. We'll go over one of my deals. And then in the meantime, bring me some deals also. So this is a property that I just acquired. This is one of my favorite types of deals. For this deal, oh, there we go. For this deal, I am buying it. It's basically a turnkey property. I'm buying it with a hard money loan. So it's covering 100% of the purchase and the rehab. The rehab is only $4,000 for an air conditioner. So all I'm going to do is acquire this property, put in an air conditioner, and then I'm going to bring a buyer. I'm going to sell this one on a 10-year lease option. And then I'm going to refinance it, right? So it's, and the number of these types of deals that felt like went through my fingers when I was wholesaling is insane. There were so many of these types of deals that would just, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't understand what the exit strategies were. You know, we used to get properties where I bought properties for wholesale properties where I would get it for $4,000 and sell it for $15,000. Right. What I didn't realize is that $4,000 property, I could have seller financed to somebody for $90,000, right? Or $70,000, you know? So that, just imagine the spreads that happen. I could have gotten $5,000 down and then made $700 of cash flow every single month on this deal, if not more, probably more than that. And so there's so many of these deals that are just kind of going through. Amiri wants to know, does it affect your credit score? No, a hard money loan, they'll check your credit. They want to see if you're lendable. But so for this one, I found a local hard money lender. He lends 100% of purchase, as well as the rehab. I'm taking down the property. What I'm bringing to the closing table are the closing costs. So whatever the closing costs are, I'm entering in. I'll go and then find a family. So let's look at the numbers on this deal. So I'm getting it for 120. I'm putting 4,000 into it. I'm then refinancing into a DSCR loan. So for those of you that don't know what a DSCR loan is, a DSCR loan is a asset-based loan. It's debt service cover ratio, right? So, and these are also some of the more core fundamentals of like what you need to learn to go from wholesaling to like buy and hold. And some of you guys are already more advanced, I know that, but like these costs specifically are for getting you from the beginning to getting your first like buy and hold deals, and as well as like we can pepper in some other information about like how we're underwriting deals, underwriting wrap deals. But my goal for these calls is to get people to the point where they just know how to hold assets. Okay, so hard money loan, refinance into a DSCR loan. A DSCR loan right now, there's 7 to 8% interest. So it's not any crazy, amazing interest rate. As you can see here, I'm underwriting 7%. And a DSCR loan is based off of the actual asset. So the asset is, it's about the rent rates in comparison to the underlying debt servicing. So if I have to pay the bank $1,100 per month, or $10.50 per month, they want to make sure that the market rents in the area are higher than that $10.50, and ideally a 1.1 ratio, 1.2 ratio. So the market rents for this one are $1,500 a month. So would this work as a rental? Yeah, this would work as a rental if I wanted to have it as a rental. right? But when you have rentals, you have capital expenditure. When something breaks, you have to fix it, right? And so what I desire mostly is increased cash flow and also decreased headaches. So that's why I do lease options and wraps, because I want to minimize the amount of headaches I'm going to have on any deal. So when I put a family in, they are responsible for repairs for the most part. If I do an actual wrap, they're responsible for all the repairs. Just like if your refrigerator breaks, you're not going to call the bank and say, "Hey, bank, my fridge has broken. Can you fix it for me?" That's just not how it works, right? So they're responsible for all the repairs. If I do a lease option, they're responsible for all repairs under $5,000. And then the majors I'll be responsible for. And there's a give and take for both these strategies, but that doesn't matter when you're going from zero to your first deal. Like how I like to think about things is one step at a time. And it begins with just getting a deal and understanding how to underwrite the deals. The underwriting is very similar. The paperwork is different, but if you have a deal, you can take it one step at a time, and you can then, the paperwork is something to figure out later on. That's how I think about things. So this deal, current market value is 160. I'm going to accelerate the appreciation. I can sell for around 200,000 because I'm doing it as a lease option. The down payment is lower. It's 7,000. If I wanted to sell this as a contract for deed or a true wrap, I'd probably do 17,000 as the down payment. So we can play around with it as a true wrap. And as you look over here, you can start to see these numbers. So I would sell at 9.8% interest. The total monthly payment would be 1820, right? So it's above market rents. It is, I have a bit of an interest rate arbitrage. I'm able to accelerate the appreciation, so I can sell it for higher than what is actually available for, or the current market value is right now, because we can add in appreciation in exchange for having the underlying financing in place. The cash flow in this is going to be $714 per month. If I do the lease option, it'll be $800 per month. And once again, this is true cash flow. And so with this being true cash flow, that means that I am just getting mailbox money every month. I don't have property management. No one's calling my phone at midnight because a shower curtain broke or because the screen door has a hole in it or the garage door won't open. I just talked to someone today who has a property in Baltimore. She's getting called at midnight because the garage door won't open. Like she is an Airbnb. That's like last thing I want to deal with in my life. So this deal, if it goes 30 years, will profit $250,000, $251,969.93. And that is on one deal, which is amazing. If the family sells or refinances in 5 to 7 years, it'll profit $109,000, right? So these are, I like to think that every deal we do is $100,000 seed. Sure. So Amiri wants me to go back to the deal for $4,000 and how we can make $700 a month rather than wholesale out for $15K. So this is great. I don't have the actual property in my brain, but I'll underwrite that deal for you and kind of show you what that would look like, because I came across so many of these deals and I just had no idea how to do it. Okay, so let's go to our Wrap Academy deal maker. Okay. And bring deals. If you guys have more deals, bring the deals. Let's look at them together. Okay. So let me see if this is working. Share my screen. So make sure my entire screen. Okay. Can you guys see my deal maker? I think you can. Okay. So let's go ahead and just go to Zillow. There we go. And let's go inside of, let's find a property in Kansas City. So the inner city of Kansas City is somewhere around here. Okay. Let's find a property on Myrtle Avenue. These are nice houses. So a lot of these areas are more changing. Okay. Let's look at this house. So imagine we have a house like this where it needs a bunch of work. Maybe the estimate's a little bit lower, but they just want to get rid of the property. It's in okay condition. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's in okay condition, but they just want to get rid of it, right? So we would get properties like this for livable for 15,000, 20,000. We literally got houses for like under $10,000 that were somewhat livable, right? And there's tons of properties that are like this. So let's look at you guys can see everything. Okay, great. Cool. You guys see my deal maker? Yes. Okay. So let's say that the current market value is 30,000. Okay, great. Okay, let's say that the current market value is 30,000. ARV is 110,000. Rehab estimate is 30,000, but it's livable, right? We want them to be ideally livable, but they don't have to be, especially if you're buying a house for like under $10,000. Because if you're buying for under $10,000, there are tons of families that want to fix it up themselves. And we have a large Latino demographic in Kansas City. If they can get into a property for $800 a month and fix it up themselves, they're eager to do it. So I said market rents are 1,100, taxes 1,000. So say this is our deal. We got it for $8,000, right? And say it's a livable house. Say it's something like, let's see if we can find a little bit of something. This is 6,000, right? This is just a lot. 147. Yeah, say something like this, but run down. It's nice to have an actual example, but I didn't really, so it's okay. So if a house is in livable condition in Kansas City in this area, I know that someone's going to pay somewhere around 90,000. My underlying financing is 0 because I'm bringing 8,000 down. Right? I'm actually buying this house, and you can raise private capital for that. There's different ways to do that. So if I sold at 90,000 and 10,000 down and 9% interest, I could charge them $843 per month. So even if I give it to them, if it needs a bunch of work, say 8,000 down, right? Now we're just matching what we put into the property. So this means we're break even at the very beginning because we spent 8,000 on the deal. There's gonna be closing costs, a few other expenses, but then we got 8,000 down, right? So maybe we have a little bit of money left in the deal, but we have nothing on the underlying financing. It is free and clear, right? And they're paying $900 a month. They're probably going to put, 40, they're doing the work themselves. So they'll maybe put $30,000 of work in themselves over time and make the property better themselves. They're going to capitalize on the appreciation. They're going to live in the house. They're going to get a lot of value from it. So they're only paying $859 a month for life, right? And market rents are 1,000. I would even move this up even more because I know that like at that monthly payment is a pretty solid deal. And so that's basically all cash flow, right? Minus the taxes and insurance. So this deal, what would have been, like a $10,000 wholesale is now going to profit $143,000 over 7 years if they sell or refinance in 7 years. And if they never sell and refinance, it's going to profit $281,000. And that's from a throwaway deal. And we had so many of these go through our hands that we just wholesaled. And that was like basically a throwaway deal. You get it for $4,000 and then you wholesale it for 10,000, 12,000, 13. We did so many of these. So this starts to open your mind to the value of seller financing, right? Because so much of creative financing is interest rate arbitrage, right? And when you can arbitrage a 0% interest with 11% interest, you're going to be having a really great time, right? That's a really great arbitrage they get to do. So this should be starting to open your minds a little bit just about the power of this model. And, say that the current market value, maybe it's 30,000, but it has, $60,000 of work. And the ARV is actually in Kansas City, like all the ARVs are like 180 for the most part. Maybe it'll be a little bit lower, but it's not much lower than that. So for this family, they're going to spend $30,000 and get the property fixed up, and they'll still have equity in when they're finished, right? So they're doing sweat equity. And we call this a work for equity deal, where the family is going to work in exchange for equity, right? And this is like bread and butter transaction. If you have any properties that are livable in the Kansas City area, I haven't branched out yet, but I'm considering branching out as well. Like I would do these deals all day. Yeah. Okay. Nice. So you guys can see everything. So Amiri, raising private capital is a different conversation. There's a lot of ways to raise private capital, but I'm gonna stay focused on underwriting, deal structuring. So what's your main acquisition method for sub 2, cash or seller financing? I do a combination. I love working with bird dogs. So if you guys have deals in Kansas City that are livable, send them over to me. I love working with the bird dogs. I like when deals get handed to me. We have an LOI blaster as well, so we can blast out letter of intents to agents, which is a really nice way right now. And as you're thinking about different lead gen strategies, like the most important thing is that everything works. So when we first started, we were doing text message marketing. I started my wholesaling company with $5,000 text message marketing and a skip trace to list. Right? We text them, they respond, we call them. So all marketing is just getting in front of people. When everyone's doing one thing, you want to do something else. Right now, properties are on market for longer. It's more of a buyer's market. So there's a lot of properties sitting on market. And so for wraps and lease options as well, like when you start hitting these on-market deals, most people hitting these on-market deals are only going for deals that are 5% interest and below, right? Because they really, for most exit strategies, you really need to have that lower interest rate for a rental to work, or even for a co-living to work. Maybe not as much for a co-living, but definitely for a rental, because things just don't cash flow. But for us, because we're able to have above market rents coming our way, like now we open up this whole different area where we can buy houses that most people can't buy. Right. And that's why, in my opinion, this exit strategy is the blue ocean of single family real estate. Like this is like most of the families we serve are first generation Americans. The banks are not financing them. They're underserved. They want to buy houses and they have money, right? The banks won't finance them because they have mattress money. They have 1099s, they have businesses and this, yeah. And so this is an underserved market, and that's what makes it blue ocean, right? So the idea of like blue oceans versus red oceans is extremely important, and it took me a really long time to understand this. In my previous life, I was in e-commerce. I was drop shipping, right? I was selling commodity products using Facebook ads, right? And we made it work, but like it's in many ways a red ocean, And how do you go from a red ocean to a blue ocean? Well, you put the pieces together in a different way. So what we have, they say like, what's the most important thing you have when you start a business? Is it a good product? Is it a good location? And the answer is a starving crowd, right? A starving crowd is the most important thing that you can have. And so we have the fastest growing demographic of people in the United States, which is first generation Americans. And we have them not being able to buy houses and them wanting to buy houses, right? So that is the problem that is the area that we're sitting in. And everything in business is also an equation of supply and demand. So with supply and demand, like there's limited supply and high demand. So that is exactly the spaces we want to be in. And so, yeah, like for example, for the deal I just showed you guys, that deal would not work for really anything else. It could work as a flip. Let's say you're getting for 10,000, it's worth, it could work as a flip, right? There's a way to make that work as a flip. But it's like one of those deals that needs a lot of work. And this is just like so much easier. We're just arbitraging. We're just arbitraging capital, and then we have financing in place, then we have seller finance, right? It's payments over time. Everyone loves payments over time. So those are some ideas and some things to start getting your gears churning about the possibilities of this exit strategy. Okay. Daniel has questions about the best way to negotiate low money down on your deals. I'm also happy to do some seller calls and call some sellers and talk to sellers. If you guys have agents you want to talk to or want to hear me talk to sellers, I love talking to sellers. So you can bring this here. We'll troubleshoot them together, and we can do real life deals as well. So Daniel, like For negotiating low money down on deals, I mean, when we first started like getting stock finance and subject to deals, we just didn't have like the capital to put in. We were wholesaling, and all of our money was going towards marketing. Right? It was like this constant churning wheel of like we'd get 6 deals per month, and then we take that money, spend it on marketing, and it was just going around in circles in many ways. So we didn't have the luxury of putting a bunch of money into deals. And they say that's a gift when you're actually going into deals as well. Is like not having the resources can oftentimes be a gift because then you figure it out. So we figured everything out so like we can go as close to $0 possible as a down payment. And the answer is like when they ask me how much I can do down, I say, well, typically when we're paying full market value or above market value on deals, we're usually bringing as close to $0 down as possible. And that's in exchange for like taking over the financing and like removing this headache, and it's just starting the negotiations at a low point. It's bringing them into cool. It's bringing them into and everything in sales, it begins with motivation as well. So asking them questions and understanding their situation, like what do they need the money for? What is their overall situation? Because motivated sellers at the end of the day are the best deals and the best people to work with. Cool. All right. Mitch wants to know if to protect yourself, are you always selling with the lease option or similar, or do you ever transfer title to the end buyer? So we've tried things in all sorts of ways, Mitch. So we've done the true wraps where you give the deeds away. We've also done many contract for deeds and many lease options. So there's pros and cons of each, but I really want to stay focused on underwriting here. Mostly underwriting, sales, and so on. Does anyone have a deal that they would like to underwrite? All right, I can show you guys another deal I'm working on. I do some JVs and deals for people that's a little bit more, I don't want to share their deals, but I'll share one of the deals I'm working on right now. And this is a pretty interesting one as well. And this is a subject to deal. Okay. So let me share my screen again. Okay. You guys see my deal maker? Okay, cool. So this particular deal is an interesting one. So typically when I say to like another big thing about underwriting is also identifying markets. So there's a few like rules of thumb that you have with identifying markets. You want to be in a good market for wraps, right? And so for this deal, it's a really interesting one because it is about an hour outside of Kansas City in a smaller town. So if we go to Atkinson, Kansas population, we'll see that the population is 10,000, right? Let's see if I can see the map here. It's not here. Okay, I'm not able to see the map, but it's about an hour away from Kansas City. And so in a small town, hour away from Kansas City, not a deal I'd be super stoked on, but because I have all the infrastructure in Kansas City, what I see about this deal is it's on 4 acres. And 4 acres, like for land, that's pretty solid. And we're also getting into it for $0 down. So this property, we're taking it over for $380,393. And it's a 2.5% interest. And so the PITI on it is 2233 because it's a higher price property. And the market rents are 2,400, right? So there's not a whole lot of space to work with there. So it's on the higher end of the price point of where I'd like to be. So it has a few red flags, which is it's very rural. It's also it's a little bit outside the affordability range. I don't consider this to be inside the affordability range. But what it has going for it is on 4 acres of land. So 4 acres of land is amazing. And you can look at it, and the property overall is in pretty good condition. It's been recently renovated. It's a newer build. Got some tiny rooms. And so I want to start planting into your heads as a little lake there. So there's a little water, there's even nature. It's a cool house.
So if you're talking to the agent, what can you offer, right? You see that was on market for 376, right? So what can you offer? And this is a great example of getting a deal for $0 down, right? And the reason that we can get for $0 down is because this family's motivated. They're motivated to sell. They want to be out of the house. They can't afford the payments. So we can get into it for like literally they're giving us a house with 2.5% interest, right? Would this work as a rental? What are y'all's thoughts? Do you think this would work as a rental? Yeah, I can zoom in on the spreadsheet a bit more. Okay. Will this work as a rental? Market rents are 2,400. Our underlying financing is 2233. Would not work as a rental, right? Would it work as co-living? Don't think it works as co-living. It's a town of 10,000 people. If you lived there, could you find people and do a co-living, rent by the room? Probably. If you lived in the market and were able to really want to focus on it, you probably could. What else can you do with it? Can you flip it? No. But it's got to be a deal, right? It's $0 in and 2.5% interest. So what I see, the red flags again, it's far away, it's a small town, right? And if you're doing your first ever wrap release option, I would definitely not recommend this deal, right? We've done over 60 of these, and in the process, we've learned, I feel very comfortable with the numbers. What I see is that the cash flow is $640 if we sell it at $29.95 a month, right? Which is a little bit above market rents. I feel very confident I could sell this at $2,500 for 4 acres of land in this area without a doubt. We're also giving them a 5.45% interest rate, right? So we're giving them that interest rate, which is a pretty solid interest rate, and it's on 4 acres. So if, for example, if I had to lower this down and really lower the interest rate down even more and bring it down to closer to 2,500, I could also lower the price, but I don't want to lower the price because right now my equity after I sell the deal is very low, right? And so this deal overall is an interesting one. It's a more complicated one. It's a challenging one. But let's look at how this deal looks over time. So what you see here is my equity at the beginning is basically zero. So this is the difference between what I owe the bank and what the family owes us. But over time, every year, my equity gets larger because of the interest rate arbitrage. And so you can see the difference adding up, and the equity is increasing every single year. So this property is appreciating for me and its value every year that we hold it. And that's with, whoops, where'd it go? There it is. And that's with only a 3% interest rate arbitrage, right? Sometimes when you get sub twos at this interest rate, if it's an affordable house, you can get 6, 7, 8, 9% interest rate arbitrage, which becomes really, really nice. So this is an interesting one. The red flags are outside the market. It's also above affordability zone. I like to be in the affordability range. And also it's on 4 acres though, so we're trying it out. All right. So Amri wants to know, not because of CapEx. Yeah, exactly. And if you have CapEx as well, like on 0% or $0 cash flow or $100 a month cash flow, it's going to drain you. One thing goes wrong, one small thing, and all of your rental income from the year is gone, right? So, okay. So Mitch wants to know what we aim for a minimum cash flow. I like to aim for a minimum $400 a month in cash flow. Once again, true cash flow. We walk away. We keep all this all mailbox money. I like to see it closer to 700 is amazing. And I'm always underwriting so that if I had to decrease the price to get it sold, then I can still feel good about it. So yeah, $400 in cash flow per month. If it's a subject to deal, easily closer to 1,000 and beyond. Emery wants to know if we offer your wrap calculator for free on school. No, that our paid students get access to that wrap calculator. I'm in the process of making a free one because I want everyone to have the ability to underwrite these deals on a basic level. We spent hundreds of hours building that thing out, and it's very nifty. So yeah, cool. All right. So this is all really fun. There's other things we can talk about. This is my second time doing this weekly call, so I'm really figuring out what you guys need and how I can best serve you. And once again, like the idea of this is getting you guys from zero to being able to get deals and do deals on wraps and lease options. So bringing you from wholesaler or working on your first deal to understanding how to underwrite so that you can make offers. And so once again, like as we learn to underwrite, we are then able to make better offers because we know what we can do on the deals. And we know what we are able to sell them for. For my property on Garfield, I knew I could pay $120,000 all day for that property. And like it's barely any of my own money. So I'm using hard money and refinancing. And I know that I can sell that on a contract for deed or a long-term lease option for $200,000 all day. Right. So it's such a safe deal. And so once you start seeing this, and it's also minimal rehab. I'm not even in the country right now. Right? I'm outside the country. So I'm doing it remotely. And it's such a nice, easy rehab that it's really easy to do that. So those are some of the things. Any other questions that people have? Any other deals that you guys want to underwrite? Any questions about underwriting? I don't know if I can bring you guys on the screen. Nice. Okay, cool. I'm learning how to use this. Okay, Radio Guy 801 wants to know, can I explain once more taking down the deal with the then DSCR refi process? Yeah, and this stuff is super key. So this is stuff I didn't understand when I first started. So if you're like in the process of like doing buy and holds and haven't done them yet, like I challenge you to call 3 local hard money lenders and just go through their vetting process. Like do that so you can start to understand this process, because the quicker you can understand how to leverage these different lending sources, the better off you are and the more deals you can do. So can I do a whiteboard? No. Okay. So for hard money, it's just calling a hard money lender, right? They're going to underwrite the deal. They want you to be all in the deal at 60 to 70% of ARV minus repairs. They'll usually, and most hard money lenders, they're going to ask for 90% of purchase and rehab, right? So, or 90% of purchase, 100% of rehab. What that means is if you're buying it for $100,000 and say the property's worth $140,000, they'll usually fund 90,000 of that 100,000. What that means is you'd have to bring $10,000 to the closing table. And that's not like, ideally, we don't have to do that. Right. So I have lenders that I work with that do 100% of purchase and 100% of rehab. Right. And then you usually pay origination points. What that means is that's how most of these lenders make money. What most hard money lenders do, like this guy that I'm using as my hard money lender, he has one whale investor who brings all the money, and he uses that whale's money to do a hard money lending business. So he lends it out. That whale investor is getting 12% returns on their money, and he charges origination points. So if he lends me $100,000, he'll charge me 2 or 3% at the very beginning. He'll keep that $2,000 to $3,000, and then the interest mostly goes to his whale, right? And that's how they mostly make money. So for the hard money loan, super simple. You get them, you get vetted, see if you can get past with the vetting, and then you take it down the hard money loan. Once that property has been renovated and you've increased the value of the properties, then you go into a DSCR loan, right? And a DSCR loan is a debt service cover ratio loan. What that means in layman's terms is they're looking at the market rents and they're looking at what you can, or I'm sorry, they're looking at the underlying debt servicing. So if you get the DSCR loan at $100,000 at 8% interest, say you're paying $1,000 a month, right? And then they're comparing that with the market rents. Right. So they want to see that there is market rents higher than what the debt service is. And that's the ratio. And that's an asset-based loan. So it's purely based off the asset. You can get tons of DSCR loans. And there's so many DSCR lenders as well. So if you learn how to buy properties, renovate them, refinance into DSCR loans, you can do that over and over and over again. It is a way that you can continue doing it over and over again. Does that answer your question? Let me know if you have more questions around that process. Yeah, and if you wanted to know more about DSCR loans as well, like Ashley Abbott's a really good resource. Jada Toll is also a really good resource. They do DSCR loans is like what they do. Okay. So Amory wants to know about JVing with me. Right now, I'm really figuring out my JV structure. My whole portfolio is in Kansas City. That's from continuing to grow. And I'm open for good opportunities for JVing, but at this stage of my investments, I'm not sure how I'm going to structure that. So that's an area that I'm still figuring out. So I'm working on. Mitch also wants to know about JVs. So we have Rap Academy. And this is like Rap Academy, like inside of Rap Academy, this is where we are doing wraps and lease options all the time. We have Rap Academy students in here, like they're doing deals. So we're fully focused on wraps and lease options and doing wraps and lease options, right? So like when you decide like you're ready to get to doing this type of deal, like Rap Academy is where we're doing it. It's where we're fully focused in. So when people want to JV with me, it's literally most of the time I bring them into Rap Academy and I teach them how to do the deals. So I can support them in structuring and how to do those deals together with them. So that's like the main way that I'm working with people now. And if you guys want to talk about joining Rap Academy, I'm happy to talk. You can schedule me on Calendly right there. But that's where like you're like, I love this model. I see the value in it. I'm ready to double down on it. I'm ready to do it. That's where we're doing this over and over again. Cool. Thanks for the questions. Okay, awesome. That's all I have for you guys today. I just want to give you guys the basics of underwriting wrap deals, underwriting lease options. And then next week, what I can do a little bit more of is talking to more sellers. Because I think like the next thing is like negotiating with sellers, talking to sellers, diving in and like really understanding the lead gen and seller side. So Emery wants to know where we're finding most of our deals. Are they on Zillow or off market? Once again, we have a varied resources for finding deals. We use an LOI blaster. It blasts out letters of intent to agents. That's a really good way. We buy from wholesalers and people bird dog us deals. Those are the main ways that we're buying now. We did a lot of direct to seller back in the day, and we're doing less of that now. So that's how we structure it. But like, there's so many ways to skin the cat. Like everything works. Like every single way works. It's just about talking to people and making offers. If you're like, why am I not getting a deal, but you're not making offers? Then that is, make offers. Like you have to make offers to get deals. All right. Cool. Thank you guys for coming on. Definitely check out our school community. Give me feedback. Let me know how you enjoyed this call. Let me know what you need more of. Let me know. Reach out to me on Facebook. Reach out to me on school. Let me know what the actual barrier is. The more I understand about your challenges, the more I can come and be of service on these calls, just so that we can give you guys good value every single one of these calls. I really want these calls to be about underwriting and finding deals, but I can also bring in other forms of value as well for these calls, so that you guys can get value. Because like the goal is, when you're doing wraps and lease options, you're 10 houses away from tier 1 financial freedom, right? So if you do this 10 times, you're going to have somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a month of residual income, right? And that gets you out of the rat race for the most part. So that is a starting point to get you out of the rat race. And that's what we're all like, that is what we're focused on here, is getting you to that point. Because it's my belief that when people get to that point, you're freed up to choose what's next for you. Cool. All right. Thank you guys. Reach out to me. Let me know I can be of further service, and talk to you guys next week.